with this desire for a template, there is, and even for myself, there was a lot of shame that I was carrying about myself that I wasn't even aware of until I removed the breast implants. And then once I did, it was like, oh my God, I didn't know that I buried a story of who I thought I was supposed to be under these implants. And in that journey, it was a heart wall that I was carrying. I was blocking my own heart with these things, and I was artificially trying to buy my love. And I see this happening with a lot of women, so I see them just, the second thing I'd say is that a lot of women think that this is a process of simply removing your implants, and that's it, and you carry on and everything will get better. And while 70% of your symptoms may get better, every single woman's journey is different. If you think that you can just explant and carry on, you are missing a major healing opportunity for you to live your optimal life and live in optimal health and optimal energy and live as far as you can away from disease. That is said, every 1 year you've had breast implants, it takes about a month to recover. There's a fast track to doing so, and I like to share that.
You're listening to Cleanse, Heal, Ignite podcast, and I'm your hostess, Diane Kaiser, functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, former pro soccer player, transformational leader, holistic healer, and life purpose coach, helping you and your business awaken to your full potential. We are a transformation tribe of visionaries empowering passion-quenching, heart-centered advice to wellness warrior leaders on self-love, nutrition, mindset, and divorcing perfectionism. Our mission is to help you laugh your way to a sexy belly, love your way to vitality, and live your life with purpose by sharing real talk and truth drops that will help you cleanse your body, heal your hormones, and ignite your life. Side effects of this podcast may include all-day energy, happy hormones, perfect poops, increased confidence, becoming your own best healer, and catching the self-love virus. There's currently no vaccination to protect you from this and no known cure. In most cases, listeners experience a strong desire to accept new challenges, ditch toxic people, follow their heart, and dance like no one's watching. If you experience moods happier than usual, live it unapologetically and share with your social media friends immediately.
Hello, beauty warriors. Diane Kaiser here. Welcome to another episode of Cleanse Your Body, Heal Your Hormones, Ignite Your Life, She podcast. And we have here me today and Jess Pino. She is our executive assistant for Chi, Holistic Health Institute. And what I refer to her as is my executive assistant, my warrior sister friend, and she's just a soul sister. And I think it's one of the greatest blessings that I have in this world to be able to operate an institute, corporation, and to have friends who are working with me on a common goal to share the truth about what drains our body and depletes our energy and diseases our entire life. So Jess, thank you so much for being on the show with me today.
Thank you for having me, Diane. It's such a pleasure to finally be on the podcast. I've been working behind the scenes with you on a lot of stuff, but you know, you and I instantly clicked a few months back, and I'm just so thankful for us to move forward and share this message with so many people.
Yeah, me too. And Jess and I are both functional diagnostic nutrition practitioners. That's how we've met. And so we're doing a lot of really powerful work in the world to help women who come to us and basically say, you know, I've tried everything. And some women who have breast implants, some women who have been injured by Botox, some women who have been injured by birth control, or like we talk about, the bully within, because it's really this perfectionism parasite that's killing us all. It's not so much about the breast implants or the diet or the lifestyle. It's about how we think, which then dictates our choices and our ensuing actions and consequences of that. So today we're going to talk about my explant journey. So at the time of recording this, we're just a little over a year post-explant from when I had my implants removed. My date was May 31st. 2018. That was my D-Day, my double D-Day, my double D removal day. The day that I swore off explanting the silicone toxic breast implants that were destroying my body, and also explanted the story that caused me to get them, which was that I was imperfect and not whole the way that I was. So it's a whole journey working with the entire process. And I get this question a lot is, how have your results been? And then from that is, what about this? What about this? What about insurance? What about fat transfer? What about your energy? How'd your hormones rebound? What about your gut? Like, did you lose the weight? Da, da, da. So today we're going to cover a lot of that. Maybe not all of it, but we have a pretty power-packed show for you. The women who have been asking me these questions about, should I explant? What does it look like when I do? What does it look like explant? You know, what are the regrets that you have that you may have done differently? What would you advise women who are going about it right now? And of course, This is also the celebration of my launch, Killer Breasts, which I'm super grateful to have received 2 times Amazon bestseller in 2 categories, and is out now for purchase. You can go to killerbreastbook.com or on my website, dianekaiser.com. You guys can find that there. So we're going to talk about that. And Jess, let's just start with one of our first reviews that we got on the book. Do you want to read that for everybody?
Yes. So this review comes to us from a fellow functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner who reached out to us because she really wants to spread the same message. So let's get into it. About 400,000 women a year get breast implants, and that means that each year 400,000 women are faced with health challenges that most likely do not know are that they are most likely do not know are being caused by them.
Start over.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay.
That was a weird sentence. Women are faced with challenges that they most likely do not. That's where I got. Okay. All right. About 400,000 women a year get breast implants. And that means that each year, 400,000 women are faced with health challenges that they most likely do not know are being caused by them. Most women, including myself included, think that they are just fine and not causing any problems. Wrong. It doesn't matter if they are silicone or saline. The toxins imposed on the body from implants is the root cause of over 80 symptoms, many of which are chalked off to hormone imbalance, genetic predispositions, problems with aging, or just plain old normal symptoms of being a woman. If you or someone you love has breast implants, please get this book and read it cover to cover. You will not only save your life, or at least improve the quality of your health and energy, but you will understand what may be going on in your body and how to methodically and proactively get your health back to prevent the downward spiral once your toxic burden cup overflows. I'm grateful to the author for having the guts to write this book, to share her personal experience, and save those of us in the path from not only the financial expense, but from the heartache and the misery that will ultimately result from having these time bombs ticking away in our bodies. This is your guide and your how-to, but it is also your opportunity to evolve from having had an experience of implants and learn, as the author said, the lesson you bought them to teach you. That's really powerful. She reached out to us because, well, she read the book and has read it, I think, more than once at this point, but also really wanted to understand our method and how we work with people. And she also scheduled her explant once she read the book because she felt really empowered. Like she had a go-to that made her feel confident that she could do it. Because I feel like a lot of people go through that process and maybe they want to get rid of or, explant, but it's such a process and they don't know where to start. They don't know where to go. And so this book inspired her and is inspiring other women to be able to take the reins for themselves without having, that little voice in the back of your head saying, I can't do it. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. So it's really, really powerful for her to reach out to us and such a great review.
Yeah, and when she reached out and we had our first conversation, I just felt like I was talking to a soul sister in suffering. And so I think it's important to acknowledge that suffering through this whole journey is actually the biggest wake-up call. You may hear people say that breast cancer was a big wake-up call for me, and that's the victorious way of saying I've learned from what my physical body symptoms were trying to teach me by waking me up with pain and discomfort versus, oh my God, that sucked. Why me? Why do I have to go through all these things? And these terrible things are always happening to me. And I had to go pay for chemo and radiation, which is over $100,000 today, by the way. And is actually what they're seeing with some women that have BIA-ALCL. And it's not just the certain kind of textured breast implants. So you're going to learn all about that in my book. But there's a lot of things being hidden from us. And that is enough to get you really pissed off and fired up. you'll learn about this in my book too, that they have actually falsified a lot of records and burned a lot of studies for women who have been coming to doctors with problems and haven't been reported properly. And if you think that the same thing isn't happening right now with COVID, think again. This is Western medicine on repeat. They've done the same thing with Botox. And so I'm on a mission to help rise the truth about the lack of transparency and the lack of responsibility and just generally caring about our physical body and the things that we put into it and the consequences long term that these things can cause, including, but not limited to, what happens when we have breast implants and when we're feeding them to our children. So you can listen to an episode that I did with Emily Shannon. I think that was about episode 15. I don't remember, but you guys can go back in the archives and listen to an episode that she and I did together. She had a lot of complications when she had breast implants. She almost died, and her son was not receiving her breast milk because she was so toxic. So there's a lot to learn here, and there's a lot to unpack today. So yes. I'm really grateful. Thank you, Abby, so much for sending that review. Thank you so much for sharing your light and celebrating us sharing, our journey, because we're all in this together. And the more that we suffer in silence, the less that we're out there helping other women who need to hear this. So when you guys listen to this episode, please do us all and all of the beautiful breasts and women's out there by sharing this episode, because literally, like she said in the review, Abby said in the review, this episode, this book, and us sharing our journey and our story can save a life, if not millions. So without further ado, Jess, let's get into the show. What's the first question?
So it brings us right into the first question, which is, what have you learned through this experience, Diane?
Yeah, a lot. I put together the highlights for our episode today. What I learned from this experience is that there is many people who think that there should be a template for going through the journey of explant and beyond. That's number one, is that, just tell me what to do. What supplements do I take? What doctor do I go to? What techniques should I apply before and after? And the root of this is, you guys, we don't know. I mean, we're doing our best. We're doing our best as practitioners, as doctors, as researchers, to explore the questions of, does silicone ever leave the body? And we don't know that. We don't even know if plastic ever leaves the body. Look at Mother Earth. She's got breast implants herself, and between California and Hawaii, it's at the Pacific Rim in the middle of the ocean. It's the size of Texas. Those are her double Ds, right? So as above, so below. She's suffering from, plastic toxicity as well. And, that's what this is plastic surgery and suffering from it. So our Mother Earth suffers as we do as well. And so what we're doing is the best that we can. So what I see a lot of women doing, which is what I don't do because I'm a health practitioner, but what I see a lot of women doing is they think that their surgeon can help them with everything. But the problem is, the surgeon knows one thing. The surgeon knows how to safely remove the implants, and they should know how to safely remove the capsule around it, as well as all of these surrounding tissues, and checking into, the structure and integrity of your rib cage, of your shoulders, and all of the surrounding lymphatic systems. There are certain surgeons that say that you should remove the lymphatic tissue as well, and the lymph itself, the organs. But there's a lot of different, there's controversy in that too. So the glands perhaps should not be removed, just as they would say remove a gallbladder. But there is a chance that these tissues can be properly detoxed if you do them in the right direction, in the right order. I also learned that with this desire for a template, there is, and even for myself, there was a lot of shame that I was carrying about myself that I wasn't even aware of until I removed the breast implants. And then once I did, it was like, oh my God, I didn't know that I buried a story of who I thought I was supposed to be under these implants. And in that journey, it was a heart wall that I was carrying. I was blocking my own heart with these things. And I was artificially trying to buy my love. And I see this happening with a lot of women. So I see them the second thing I'd say is that a lot of women think that this is a process of simply removing your implants. And that's it. And you carry on and everything will get better. And while 70% of your symptoms may get better, which is what we've seen, we still don't know. Every single woman's journey is different. And it takes on average about 1 to 2 years to really clear the body properly and heal it. And I'm still now a year into healing, and I'm still working on it. And I'm a health practitioner, and I'm doing a lot of really advanced things. So I'm not trying to overwhelm you with this, but what I am saying is do not, I mean, if you guys are rebels, you're not going to take this advice, so I can say it however. I recommend that you consider not simply explanting and thinking that's it. And I know that it's expensive to do these things. We're going to talk about my advice to you today on insurance and my experience with that, and what I recommend to all of you. But if you think that you can just explant and carry on, you are missing a major healing opportunity for you to live your optimal life and live in optimal health and optimal energy and live as far as you can away from disease. It is said that it takes, for every 1 year you've had breast implants, it takes about a month to recover. So if you had breast implants for 10 years, that's 10 months. If you've had it for 20 years, it's 20 months. That's almost 2 years. And then there is a fast path. There's a fast track to doing so. And I like to share that in the women's program that I have that Jess helps me with, which is the Cleanse, Heal, Ignite journey. And that's the healing on steroids, but not literally steroids, but it's just fast. It's a fast track to expediting it by customizing the journey with you, because lots of women think, oh, just do a Candida cleanse after that, just restrict your diet, just do a hair tissue mineral analysis, just work on mineralization, just detox. But you're missing so many moving pieces to this, because there are 4 key things that you must consider feeding at all times. And if you miss one, the other 3 have to work as hard, and you'll eventually wear those tires out, and then you only have 2 left as a metaphor. It's you got to feed your mind, your body, your heart, and your soul on a day-to-day basis. And if you're missing any one of those, then you're certainly missing the healing opportunity that could help you get there faster. And I know a lot of you are impatient. I know, because we live in such a fast pace today, in such a fast world that, take a pill and you get better, it numbs it out. But it just doesn't work that way in this journey. So that's been my experience, that what I see out there, and what I also can say from my own experience, is that this is no walk in the park. And so I don't recommend you walk in the park, because it's about the same degree of walking in the park in a dangerous area in the hood at 2 a.m. by yourself. Don't do it, because the journey of explant, even just to feel the symptoms that you do and suffer in silence, is enough to be a very lonely journey, and that could actually take you out more than the entire having breast implants, what it does to your physical body. So if you get to the point where your body's speaking to you like I was, brain fog, irritable, all the symptoms are there, don't do it alone. There's way too many things going on, and there's too many things that I did wrong, or maybe I just didn't know better, because nobody is out there talking about doing better. So I want you to know better, because now I know better, because I've done better, because I didn't do as good as I could, because I didn't know. So let's start getting into some of those, Jess, unless you have some commentary and all the things that I shared.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's always better to, walk the path together, especially with people who've been there. And I know that you get a lot of questions from people, because this is a huge topic that not a lot of people talk about. So how do you like the results that you've gotten so far? I know we had a listener question that kind of went into that, but, going a 1 year later, like, you've already gone through a lot of the detoxing, and you've figured out, okay, I should have done this better. I could have done this better. So now what do you look like? How do you feel? Like, what sort of results are you seeing that you like from going through that journey?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so if you're watching this on YouTube, on video form later, wherever it's posted, I'm going to show you. I'm not going to get naked or anything, but but here I'm not wearing a bra, and here are my breasts. Here is the final result, and I'm wearing kind of a nude color top, so you guys can get an idea for the shape of my breasts. So this is them now, and you can see the nipple right here is in the middle. So I'm really happy. My friends have been like, you have like 21-year-old boobs again. I just laugh. So you can see my right breast, and you can see from this angle how it's shaped. You can see I work out and everything, so you can see, my cleavage here. Definitely not double D's, but I really appreciate the shape of my breast, and you can see the kind of a hand to breast ratio with how my hands to my breast size fit.
That's great.
Yeah, and you can also see I used to have these things. I haven't really talked about this yet, Jess. This is funny. you know those like that little like armpit fat like crease that you get. And before I got breast implants, that was one of my like perfectionism goals. Was I was like, can you can you fix this little area of fat that I have right here? And they're like, yeah, if you get breast implants, that'll fix it, and actually made it worse.
Oh boy.
I know. So it's like the armpit butt, but whatever.
See, it's things like that you have to celebrate. Years and years ago, I was doing modeling for a company, and I was modeling this dress, and I was in a stance like this, and I had that show up in the photo, and nobody noticed it. And then it went out online everywhere. And then I got somebody who responded back with a comment like saying that, like, oh, your little armpit butt there. And it became the joke of my office, but I embraced it because I thought, wow, how it's something that somebody was talking about. I mean, you look at me, it's not going to change how somebody sees me, but it definitely started conversations. So I appreciated it, but I can see how it can be, you know, you look at it and you're like, oh no, everyone's going to see that. They're going to think about me as like the arm butt girl.
yeah, the armpit fat crack. And like crack kills, right? No, it actually doesn't. And so I remember it's what someone else observes about you is what they would pick on within themselves. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of this like picking apart happened in high school for me. And so for me, it was like, oh my gosh, what are these lines when I wear a sports bra? I'm like pulling this up and trying to cover it. But now I'm just like, you know what? I embrace my breasts. So it's funny because now I have been looking at pictures of me from, you know, 10 years ago when I had breast implants. And I just look at those pictures and I talk to my former self and I'm like, the critical part of me is like, what were you thinking? Like, those are huge. Why did you go that big? And who for? And God, no, your poor spine. So, you know, then it moves into very quickly. And this is the reaction that I work with women on, is sitting with that inner critic and going, okay, well, that's a part of your voice, but the other voice needs to step in as the wise woman warrior and say, you know what? I'm not okay with that voice anymore. And I'm going to ask you to step aside. And that other voice now says, girlfriend, you did your best. And you thought this is what you needed to be beautiful. And it's okay because you temporarily blacked out for 10 years. And you blacked out, numbed out your magic. And you forgot what made you beautiful. And actually, you didn't really forget it as much as you were hypnotized and mind controlled by MK Ultra and all the disgusting cults out there that are telling us that we need to go cut our body open and continue to inject and perfect and lift, and screw that. You know, I basically put my finger to them now, not myself anymore, because that's what they actually teach us, you know, that they make a lot of money by making us feel like we're less than, and that we need to keep up with the K people, the Ks online or TV or whatever. Makes them a lot of money, but it doesn't make us a lot of health. It makes them wealthy. It makes us not healthy. So I'm really pleased with my results here, as far as volume and my, you know, because I had downward facing nipples for a while. My implants were so heavy that my nipples, I couldn't see them anymore from my bird's eye view, you know, looking down. And I was like, oh, where'd you go, my cute little areolas? Where are you?
So it's kind of like the flip side of, you know, when you get them, you're sculpting them to be something, but then your body, you know, just like as you get older, it changes and morphs into something else. And you could have never known that was going to be the byproduct, that you look down and you're like, I don't even recognize what I even decided to put in.
Right. Yeah. It was just one day they became a ticking time bomb when I realized, you know, that one day, and you guys can go back and listen to the episode before I got my explant and what I was feeling. And I've done, you know, over 30 interviews last year for different TV shows and radio shows. So you could Google Diane Kaiser Breast Implant Illness and find many of the episodes I've done, you know, Wellness Mama, JJ Virgin. I've done a lot of different episodes, Thyroid Refresh. And next up is Joe Rogan, right? Right, Jess?
Yeah, we're putting it out there.
Yeah, we're going to go on Joe Rogan and several others like that, like Del Bigtree and all the others. And actually, I was asked by David Icke to be on their show, so that's coming soon.
Awesome.
Yeah, so the word is getting out that these things are in fact taking time bombs, and I think that when they do erupt in your body, it could either be a wake up call to get them out. Or what I see a lot of you doing is replacing them because your doctor bullies you into getting another set. And I say bully, and I don't say that lightly. Bullying doesn't have to look rude, doesn't have to look mean, doesn't have to look like someone's pinching you. Bullying is actually a form of gaslighting that says, I'm not going to listen to your perspective. My professional opinion and my doctorate matters more than your opinion and your safety. And so therefore, oh, they ruptured, let's just put another set in. Not okay. If you guys are suspicious that you may have breast implant illness, read my book. You know, you're going to get a lot out of that. $15 or whatever the price is by the time you get this could literally save your life. And you can have beautiful breasts after. So the question that I got, because I do feel in part that the shape of my breasts is because I did do fat transfer, but I do have some cautions to share with you today about that. So the question that I got from Emma Chapman on Instagram is, she said, how have you found your fat transfer went? Did you keep volume successfully? Any complications, lumps and bumps? ? Are you still happy you did it, or are you unhappy with the decision? I have been reading many stories of people losing all of their volume only to have lumps and bumps in the liposuction area. And so, Emma, that's a really great question. And I wanted to cover that for you because this is definitely one of the things that I would change on what I did and my procedure. So this falls under the category of what regrets I have had and what things may have I done differently. Mm-hmm. So what I did is I did a fat transfer, I did a lift, and I did an explant. So that entire process is about 8 hours. It's a very, very long surgery. Here's what I would share with you and everyone listening, and this is my new approach, is that, of course, for every woman, it's going to be very different. The type of surgery, the type of cosmetic treatment that the surgeon, as well as the practitioner working with you, which I highly recommend you have both. Highly, highly recommend you have a practitioner. And you also have a surgeon who understands what breast implant illness is, has fully performed several en bloc procedures, who believes you when you say that you have symptoms related to breast implant illness. If you guys get my book, you get all these freebies, you know, what to ask your doctor, you know, what are the symptoms of breast implant illness, so you feel empowered on this journey and you develop some really healthy boundaries so that you are making this decision. You are in the driving, you have the wheel here, right? This is your show. So what I'd recommend is I would recommend only doing the explant and possibly the lift, but make sure that when you do the explant, you're doing the en bloc and the total capsulectomy. What does that mean? Read my book. I talk all about that, right? Because it's like there's a lot of confusion out there as to what the two is and and so that also having my book. Oh, hold on, Jess. I'm going to grab this book with my foot here. It's on the ground. And you and I are now working with the team on the alignment of the edge of it.
It's so close.
It's so close, right? But it's not perfect, like double D breasts, right? The edge, whatever. But you guys get the point. This is my book, Killer Breast. So you get this, and I talk all about this in there because we only have so much time on these episodes to share. But I'd recommend doing the explant, removing your capsule, having a doctor who knows how to look around for any adhesions, scar tissue, muscle repair that's necessary, especially in your pectoral muscles, has a good look at your ribs, because most women have their capsules that adheres the ribs together, which is why so many women have a hard time going to their chiropractor, have a lot of misalignment in their shoulders, have a lot of sluggish lymphatic drainage, which then results in toxins backing up and building up in the body. Having brain fog because those toxins back up into the brain, because there is they've just recently discovered in the last 3 years, we have a lymphatic system that travels to the brain. So no wonder why we're brain fogged and dementia and irritable, because our bodies are just literally filled with toxins, and this is like the toxic bucket overflow that I talk about in this book. So I recommend you have that procedure and maybe a lift. Talk to your doctor about that, but do not do, in my experience, the fat transfer in that same surgery. I highly recommend you do a second surgery 1 year or more later. And because if at the point where removal, you're not happy with the look a year later, because that's how they're going to look. A year later is like your new look, right? Mm-hmm. If you're not happy with that look, then go back and get a fat transfer. But during that year, it's going to be important for us to do a lot of work to recover your adrenals, your gut, your tissues, your brain, your neurotransmitters, your lymphatic system. There's so much work to do that I don't think that the body can sustain that level of stress for liposuction and adding it up there and moving fat around. It is the most painful experience that I've ever endured. It was extremely painful. And aside from the pain, I did lose a lot of tissue. I lost a lot of tissue. And so, Emma, you had said, you read that a lot of women are losing all of their volume. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say that because I don't like the extremes, all or never, unless I really have vetted those words out and I really mean it. Because it could be a dramatic sentence by saying all or nothing, right? That's a little bit dogmatic. What I would say is that I did lose a good percentage of it. I lost probably, it was definitely over 50%. I would say that. I do have pictures of what my breast looked like before my implants, so you can see the shape of my breast then. And then you can see my breast when I got implants, and then you can see my breast after I removed the implants and had my fat transfer, and then again 6 months later, because I want you to get a close look at how my cleavage changed. So I am happy with the shape of my cleavage. I'm happy with the volume, but I did lose a lot of it, and it was very painful for me, and I did end up rupturing my Achilles tendon 6 weeks after my explant surgery. So I don't know if the two are related, but I have a feeling that they were, because it's a lot of toxicity for the body to release when you go through that surgery.
Yeah, and then I'm sure there are plenty of other things that you would have done differently, but that's a massive one to, know how to take time with this process, right? Like you said, we want to do everything all at once. We want to take a magic pill. We want to have it reversed, but the body has to go through its process and it takes time. And so I think that's a great lesson that you're able to impart on people now, is that you wanted to do all of it at once. And then you have to deal with the aftermath of taking care of your body while it's going through that. So I think doing it in stages could be a lot more effective for people. Is there any other things that you would go back and change also in that process that, we didn't cover yet?
Yeah, for sure. And I think two things, Jess. You said the word massive, and it prompted me to think of the word mass, because I have now, as I feel and palpate my breasts, they're a lot smoother, and I'll tell you why. But I had a lot of fibrocysts on each side. In fact, these are new findings, so I will share them with you on the link when you guys check the show notes here. You can see the biopsy that I had done and the ultrasound that I had done when I was highly suspicious that I had when you have fat transfer, you're at high risk for having calcification in your breasts. You have high risks of the fat not surviving because it's not stable. You have high risk of issues later down the road of having other problems with fibroids in the body and other parts of the body. We're still not really sure if it increases the risks of breast cancer, but I did have a lot of fat calcification in my body. So that's one thing that a lot of women are asking is, what were your results? And did your body, take the surgery? Did it take the fat? And what happens with a lot of women, and I've done a lot of studies on this, and they're all really controversial. Mm-hmm. Some say that it's a higher incidence that you have a lot of calcification of the fat and your body doesn't receive it. And so what ends up happening is that you have hardening of these fats, of these fat pockets. And it's scary because you don't know what it is. And that's obviously because the fat, they pulled from whatever area of your body. Like I had mine pulled from my inner thighs, my waist, and my lower back, and a little bit of my belly. I went into this 18% body fat, and I lost 15 pounds of inflammation. I lost about 5% body fat because I also lost a lot of toxicity that was causing, that air quotes, false fat, right? Mm-hmm. So I did a lot of work to detox my body, and that's not just the only thing. I worked on recovering my thyroid and my adrenals because I did have Hashimoto's through this whole process, and I reversed it. And If your doctor ever tells you that you can't, fire that doctor and go somewhere else. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Come talk to us, because it's bullshit. You're going to also hear another episode with another one of our clients, Patricia, and Patricia Clancy. She has had MS. This is irrelevant to breast implants, but a lot of women do get MS and lupus. We've worked with them who have been diagnosed with this after breast implants, and she's now out of a wheelchair and recovering a lot of her symptoms from MS, possibly reversing it. But autoimmune disease is reversible, and it is absolutely caused by toxins and trauma that also are dictated by your genetics, but only 25% of your genetics determine your destiny. The rest is lifestyle, which is called epigenetics, which is propagated by toxins and trauma, right? So that's what we talk about in our program. So I reversed my autoimmune disease in a lot of things, but I did have a lot of stress in my breast tissues, and that also has to do with my genetics. So depending on your genes, you need to support, your body. And so the things, I don't think I would have done anything different here. I think that just when it came up, the question became, well, now what do I do about it? Now that I have calcification of my breasts, fibrocystic breasts, I had 10 millimeter cysts that they found on an ultrasound, and I had 3 of them on one side, 4 of them on the other. And that scared me, because those are very, very, very painful. And if you're wondering what they feel like too, it's first of all very painful, especially when you're wearing a tight bra and you're running. But it's also very painful if you're having sex or someone's grabbing your breasts or you're grabbing your breasts. It's also just that it's very uncomfortable, because it also feels like your nerves are not really conducting electricity to your body. So it feels like if somebody touches your breast, or even you, it's really weird. When you touch your breast and it feels like, oh God, I can't feel that. That's strange. So that's a big one for me, is it costs a lot of time, money, and energy for me to figure that next segment out. Because I did what I did from that. And I'm glad that I have gone through this experience so that I could teach you guys, the ramifications and possible consequences that we're seeing in a lot of women. And this is something you talk to your surgeon about, but they may or may not say, oh, it's no big deal, because a lot of them will say most people will retain the results, and you might lose like 60 or like 20 to 30% retain 60, 70. But if you were someone thin and athletic like me going into it, and very lean, and I consider lean like 15, 18% body fat, you're not going to retain as much. You're just not. So I didn't. And I just want you to know that going into this, because it does cost about $5,000 to have your fat transfer done. So I did PRP, I did hyperbaric, I did IV chelation, I did IV nutritional therapy, I did ozone treatment, I did stem cells, I did iodine application, I did lots of lymphatic drainage, massage. So I've done a lot of things, and the average person can't afford that or has no idea what I'm talking about, So if you do want more advanced hacks like that, that's what me and my medical team will help you do. You might need that before or after, because we do see that utilizing stem cell and PRP, which is plasma-rich platelet technology, or plasma-rich platelets, can actually help you retain some of that fat. But that's for a whole nother episode. That would be going down a totally other unicorn hole. So we're not going to do that.
We need to do a whole episode on the things that Diane has been doing.
It's a lot. Or you could follow my stories, which, I can't share obviously all of this in a story or social media, but on YouTube I do as much as I can here. And in my book, in my book. So those are things that I would definitely recommend considering. If you do get fat transfer, you're going to need a lot more lymphatic love than you think. If you think that just doing one, like even I thought this, just dry brushing and some essential oils and using certain kind of oils, like cypress, that will really help for lymphatic drainage, and, coffee enemas and castor oil packs and all these amazing things. They're just standard, but that's for someone who hasn't gone through that kind of an invasive procedure, right? So our body needs a lot more love, and that's going to cost you more money than just the procedure, right? So every lymphatic massage treatment, like Jess, so like $120 in LA. Did you ever get one of those done?
No.
Yeah.
No.
So I mean, my friends do it, former clients of mine who are also going to be on the podcast very soon here, talking about yoni steams, vaginal steams, and their experience in working with me as a client. But they work on some top celebrities in LA, and they charge anywhere between $150 to $350 an hour for a lymphatic session and a lymphatic drainage session. So in our program, we do teach you how to do this on your own, so you don't have to pay so much money. But then guess what, you guys, you got to do it.
Yep.
And most people say, I don't have enough time to do it. So
make time.
Yeah, you have to make time, but people have the excuse that, I don't have enough time. And it really is just not making yourself a priority, because we've been culturally conditioned that we're not a priority and we're last on our to-do list, right? Yeah. So just know that if you do end up having fat transfer, you have a higher likelihood of having fibrocystic breasts and calcification. And you also have a lot more money to spend on treatments, so that you actually have a higher odds of retaining that fat tissue. Yeah. And then, but after the procedure, you're going to want to have ultrasound done to make sure that it has taken properly. So I would say that's my last little piece of regret there. That I would do differently is that another episode that you'll want to check out my podcast about Sonocine is how they pronounce it, is the new and latest and greatest in breast detection that is far better than mammograms, 0 radiation. And it's kind of like the best of all worlds. We're knocking out thermograms for this kind of technology, and bypass the MRI, bypass the ultrasound, bypass the mammography. I always have to say, talk to your doctor, because there's risks of me saying that, right? Because I can get sued if you guys don't get a mammogram and interrupt with cancer. But you get the idea. You're the doctor of your own body. Sonocine, listen to that interview, because you guys are going to see and hear why a lot of MDs, especially in places like Mayo Clinic, are using this now as the better technology in knocking out mammograms for breast detection screening. And if you have breast implants, mammograms are probably going to squash them, or they're cause them to rupture. And you could actually, they only detect like 50%, of your breast tissue, because you have these implants that are in the way. So I would do Sonocine. I would do a Sonocine before your explant, do it after your explant. Use that to share with your doctor. They might not know what we're talking about here. So, take that episode, share that with them. And you can actually pay out of pocket for that, probably less than what you would pay out of pocket just to get an ultrasound and MRI. You are going through insurance, which I also don't recommend anymore, but if you want to, you can. I'm going to do a whole nother episode on that with Anne. She's someone who I know who actually helps women through this process. But if you are going to go through insurance, your insurance company is going to make you jump through hoops and doing an MRI, doing an ultrasound. I ended up spending about $400 on those two together. And if your insurance takes Sonocine, then you would only have to spend about $250 instead out of pocket than you would have in all the, it was a nightmare. Going into the hospital, doing those two things was a nightmare too. They had no idea. They were asking these questions. They told me I need to get mammograms over and over. And I'm like, yeah, actually mammography really doesn't catch much. And listen to my episode where you guys hear more about that in Sonocine. So yeah, those are the things that I would do over. I wouldn't go through insurance, even though they did cover most of it except for $135. But you guys are going to have to come back and listen to my nightmare story about, I'm still dealing with it right now. Dealing with that.
I was going to ask you about that, but from what you've told me, like there's so much to cover when it comes to insurance. Like, I guess the word to the wise of people who are looking to get explanted, maybe it's not the best idea to even go down that road.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's a chance they could pay for it, but insurance is very slowly, or maybe rapidly, depending on your policy, going to not cover a lot of things. And they may say initially that they will, and then in the end they won't. So it's a very confusing process. And during this time, you already going to have a lot to deal with that I would recommend just working with a surgeon who, is very passionate about these things and can help you, and you could maybe finance the surgery. And also most good surgeons are not even taking insurance anymore because it's a nightmare for them too. Yeah. And you want to be completely done with the process of payments when you're done with the surgery. You don't have to deal with the nightmare and the headache of insurance companies and the confusion. Just take it from me. I'm still going through it a year and 2 months later, and people still are pointing at everybody else. And it's PTFD, point the finger disorder. And I'm like, okay, send me to collections. You guys are not talking to each other.
Yeah.
You know, they already did. They sent me to collections. So it's a nightmare story. I'll do that on another episode, but I would just highly caution you against using insurance because, you know what insurance is all about today, Jess.
Yeah. And I feel like in our climate too, anybody who wants to take responsibility of their own health and is looking for other healing opportunities or, you know, things that fall outside of the medical system, the insurance companies are just so far behind when it comes to that kind of stuff. And you don't want to also be beholden to them to do procedures like you were saying that are a waste of time, a waste of your money, causing you more stress. And it's better to just find a practitioner, find a surgeon that's willing to listen to you and to do it the best way that they can and not be beholden to these kind of archaic sets of rules, you know?
Yeah, they are. Hey, friends listening to this, thanks, Jess, for that reminder. They are archaic. It takes, 15 to 18 years, says Dr. Tom O'Brien, one of my very dear friends who wrote the foreword for this book, who actually will probably be talking about this or has been talking about this in a lot of his autoimmune presentations, including the Autoimmune Fix, the book. I don't know if you put that in there, but he had no idea that breast implants and Botox were this disastrous in the cause of autoimmune disease for women, because these are essentially our body rejecting a foreign object. And that's the definition of autoimmune disease, right? Which is said that pretty much we all have it at this point because we're all swimming in toxins and the body goes, not DNA, not native, reject it. And it ends up molecular mimicry attacking your own tissues, which is why we have a higher incidence of 400 to 600% higher incidence of Hashimoto's, MS, lupus, fibromyalgia, and also things like suicide and depression of women who have breast implants than don't. So, he wrote the foreword to this book because these are conversations that he and I were having behind the scenes about how disastrous these implants are. So it usually takes from the time that people like us are putting these things on the map, and then Dr. Tom O'Brien talking about it and lots of doctors talking about it, for it to even get into medical research and them to talk about it. So do you want to wait 15 years and continue to listen to your doctor, your primary care physician, who's like, oh, it's not the breast implants, because that's what they're taught? They're not taught that breast implants are a problem. How many times do you need to be lied to that your labs are normal when you really know that you don't feel normal? So we need to get out of this archaic system that says that the insurance company has the best interest in mind for us. They don't. They don't. Bottom line, they don't care. They would never have put implants out there if they did. Yeah. There's other countries that are removing these implants even from being approved for use for safety, because they're actually listening to their citizens and going, oh my gosh, this is terrible. These women are suffering. Let's take them off the market. Let's take them off. Okay, America's like, yeah, no, you guys are, this is anecdotal. And, let's just make another disease for it and call it, hysteria, hysterectomy, or all the things that they've said in the name of us being crazy. So you guys, you got to take the boobs in your own hands and walk through this, because unless you want to wait, it's always your choice, but those are definitely things I would recommend.
And that's the great thing, is that we, as independent practitioners, have the ability to share those information, or those pieces of information that we find that come from all over the world. It isn't just your personal experience. This is also experience from research that you're doing, that things that you've seen and been able to connect the dots, and other practitioners and other doctors who are opening up their minds. And now you're able to create protocols to help people prepare for surgery and for them to go through the recovery process. So is there anything in there that you want to share from your experience of how we can kind of help people that come to us now through your program, through your book, so that they can start to take those first steps? Because it can be really scary when you don't really know where to go, and the people around you have no idea. When I talk to people who come to us, one of the biggest things that I say is, don't you want to be a part of a community of women who have either been through it or going through it, or know how you're feeling? Because even if your family or your friends or your coworkers are all really supportive, it's different than feeling the feelings or the physical sensations. They're never going to understand unless they've been through it. So it's really nice to have people to walk that line with you, and then also have your outward support.
Yes. I would like to answer that by starting with a quote. And it's actually, if I'm allowed to celebrate myself, which I think that we don't do enough of. And I'm celebrating this from my heart and my spirit guides that have given me so much guidance through this whole thing. Because when you slow down and meditate and quiet, and you really just listen, you hear God speaking to you. If you are willing to let go of your ego, your fear, your shame, your worry, then the miracles can come through. And the transmissions that I got, many of them that I put in this book, which was, I poured my mind, body, my soul, my silicone, my suffering, my sweat into this thing. And this is one of my favorite quotes from the book is, one of the greatest ingredients missing in the health space today are authentic leaders who have done their own healing on a holistic level, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, such that they may be able to provide that same level of treatment to their tribe, teaching them to be their own best healer by intuitively learning the language of their body and what their symptoms are speaking to them. And what I say is, like, if you're going to start your journey, first of all, don't do this alone. And if you go to Facebook groups, you're going to hear a lot of also political reactions and suggestions that may also not be in your best interest. So be very careful about who you listen to, because there's a lot of people being paid behind the scenes to say things about certain surgeons or certain ways of doing things that they get paid by the surgeons. It's kind of like ad agencies. And if you're okay with that, then cool. But I just want you to know that it's happening. And I think it's great that there's a lot of information out there, and there's several organizations that share these things. But just know, what I say is, of course I make money in helping people. Of course I do. It's how I can afford to pay my bills and pay for food. So there's, some people say, oh, they're making money on our disease and suffering. It's like, okay, well, this is also 10 to 20 years of my intelligence, my wisdom, my certifications, and giving you the shortcut. So what is the shortcut worth to you? What is it worth to you to get from A to B a lot quicker? So I don't work with victims, period. If someone wants to think that I'm out there for their money, then I'm not working with them, because that mindset is actually what's probably created more symptoms than the breast implants have. Yep. So my suggestion is to start with, first of all, start with this book. And in here I talk about, 3 things to look for with somebody that you work with is that they have experience, they have education, and above all, they have empathy. They have empathy. They have a heart. They have a soul. They went through this path. And they can say, I've literally been where you are right now. And it was scary. And here's what I can do to help you by sitting with you and your shame and your puddles of shoulds and all this shit that you're going through. You feel like you need to hide because you feel like you're alone in this. To have someone, and what is it worth to have someone that you can share this darkness that you feel and the suffering, and feeling like you're a bother and a burden to doctors who are telling you that everything's normal, and then you feel like you're stupid, because that's how some of them are treating you, and it is disgusting. So that is my recommendation, is to work with a practitioner who understands this, who understands labs, the lifestyle. There's a lot of men out there who are providing this advice, and they're very intelligent men, but they also haven't had breasts, and they have never worked with the mindset that caused us to get these things to begin with.
Yeah.
So if you ignore mindset, you've ignored the majority of the issue, because our mindset is what drove us to get these breast implants. And for so many women, what I'm seeing is, like I said earlier, they're explanting their breasts, their breast implants, but they're not explanting the story that motivated them to get them in the first place. And then they keep going with Botox or binging on something else, or because they carry on that bully mindset within. So it's really important to address all these things. And so I think labs are important, but you don't need a lot of, super deep dive labs until after your surgery. Before, if you like, but it's really important. And talk about the labs in this book, which ones to get. I would also say too, that when you go through all of this, slow down. Really slow down. Don't miss the message in the mess. Jess knows this too. We have clients that come to us and they remove them, but they keep working. They keep working their full-time job. they keep working their business and they keep working full time. They go back to work 2 days later because they have people that they owe, you know, that rely on them, and they have all these stories. Again, these are the stories. This is a mindset that they don't deserve 2 weeks off because I got to keep hustling because I got to pay their bills. They got to make money, and if I quit, then I might lose my job. Maybe that's not the best job for you. You know, there's so much of this that if you don't slow down and really receive the gifts of the pain and what your body's trying to teach you as symptoms, you'll repeat it. And this is what we see. So don't continue on still hiding from the story of not being enough and covering it up with these perfectionistic prison choices that manifest in our relationships and our friendships, our partnerships, and all the ships that eventually sink because you're not managing them, but instead you are, you know, doing what you think is good, which is to band-aid the symptoms, but the real symptom is the root of it, which is the mindset. So that's a really big one. And then I'd say the last thing is I would definitely get a looser bra and compression garment. I should do a video on this sometime soon of what exactly I did. But I got a compression garment, didn't try it on before. I also got a bra that was like zip up in the front, and they did their job to hold me in, but they did their job too well, and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. I had a hard time breathing. I kept waking up in pain. One night I thought I was going to die. My mom came in, hearing me scream. My dad was worried. So I had them over for 2 weeks to my house to help me, and that was the most pain I've ever experienced because it was really congesting my tubes, my draining tubes. So I would definitely try on your bra, you know, your recovery bra and your compression garment if you're doing fat transfer before, because otherwise you could get choked out, and actually that could be more painful than the whole surgery recovery itself. And take them to your doctor so that your doctor can approve them, because you're going to change, your body's going to shift. Have 2 different sets of bras, one for like the first 3 weeks after your surgery or 4 weeks, and another one, you know, thereafter. So your body's going to be changing through this process, and you want to make sure that you think as far ahead as possible.
Yeah, that's smart. I think that people don't recognize how much goes into preparation for things like this, because that's the last thing you want to do is go to a store or a lingerie place to try to get yourself fitted when you're not really feeling your best.
Right.
So to have that ahead of time, that's a great piece of advice that I think you wouldn't even think of, you know, until you're in it.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't until I was in pure hell. And I was like, why didn't someone say something about this? You know, everybody was talking about, here's the best bra, here's the best garments, but it was still so many different opinions. So if you're going to do fat transfer, you're going to need the fat compression garment, but not if you don't. But listen to your doctor about those things, and if you need any support with that, I did talk about that in here with pictures and everything. So, you know, bras change, obviously. Some of them that were out when I bought mine are no longer out, but that's another one. You want to be comfortable during your recovery. And the thing is, the last one I'd say too is one of the things that, and you know, if you can see me on this video, you can see that I still wear compression sleeves on my ankle because my Achilles tendon ruptured, and I'll show you my scar 6 weeks after my surgery. So there's my scar. You can see how thick and swollen that is. So I would say the hardest part for me after this whole journey was, after having one big surgery, having another big surgery, and then my Achilles tendon got infected because the stitches that surgeon used to put me back together were made of the same materials that my breast implants were. So of course my body was like, I didn't like that material in you for 10 years. And we were trying to send immunoglobulins to clear it out of your body. And now we're developing histamine response to the same material. So ask your doctor what they're putting inside of you. Don't just trust. I am a health practitioner, and I still got duped by that once I had to have a second surgery because I got really infected in my Achilles tendon. But I would highly recommend considering not ever taking fluoroquinolones. That is a terrible antibiotic that most well-intended doctors who research things are very well. I think it's Class A drug, and it's one of the ones that has fluoride in it, which is the biggest way to calcify your pineal gland and to disrupt your intuition, your ability to think for yourself, causes brain fog. and allows you to be more susceptible to mind control, which is happening, which is why we got breast implants to begin with, right?
Yep.
So stay away from those. There's other types of antibiotics. We also offer testing in our protocol and our program Chi. So you could even see what antibiotics your body might be resistant to. And if you're resistant to antibiotics and you're taking things like fluoroquinolones or any kind of antibiotics, it's not going to actually be effective at killing the bugs. In fact, it's going to actually do your body more harm and kill the good bugs as well as some of the bad, but maybe not even any of the bad, because if you're resistant to it, then it's not going to work. Most doctors are barely scratching the surface and even testing to see if the bacteria or whatever pathogens you have in your body is even going to work for the antibiotics that they prescribe to you. So that's the last one, Jess. I mean, all of these little threads could be their own separate episode.
Yeah. Well, there's so much to take into consideration, and how can your doctor, one person, know where to look? I mean, I always feel like it's great to have multiple eyes, and, having a practitioner and a doctor and your surgeon, like a bunch of people who have their own opinions and their own research, so that you can feel informed also. Getting your book is a great first step, because it puts a lot of this information into one place that somebody can take a step back and really, feel educated. Because I feel like we get into these situations with doctors and getting implants because we are not confident that we know what direction to take. And we get bullied because we don't know how to stand up, or we don't know the right questions to ask. And so, we end up putting ourselves in positions where we waste a lot of time, a lot of money. So, before we kind of wrap things up, I just wanted to touch and make sure that we didn't miss anything that you look back on and think, oh man, that's a waste of my time. That was a waste of money. Just one little last piece of advice to people, because there's so many things to take into account here. Is there any other things that you might have missed that you wanted to touch on before we kind of, wrap things up for this episode?
Yeah. I definitely would say I interviewed 11 doctors total. And so I spent money doing that. I spent a lot of time doing that. And I spent money doing certain protocols that I feel that were great, but maybe perhaps weren't the best. It may be just not the right timing. I did find out through all of this that the implants were affecting my brain, and I was diagnosed with ADHD. Could have been also, the compilation of many years of playing professional soccer too, because it's technically micro concussions when you had the ball over and over for 35 years of your life. So I'm not going to say that, breast implants were the reason for everything. So, I spent money doing that. But for me, I considered and put myself into the position of, okay, I will walk through this. I will research everything I can so that I could look back and give you guys the information I'm giving you in this episode, and you can do whatever you want with it. I can only shine a light in the places of darkness that didn't work for me or did work for me. And so as far as wasting money, I think that the fat grafting, I definitely would have done second. I would, like I said, I might not have even done it. So that might have saved me $5,000. And I think that for the most part, everything else I did was in the name of research so I could better help you guys. But what I see a lot of women wasting their money on, and what I'd like to impart upon you, is spending a lot of money on all these fancy labs and diagnostic tools to explore, do you have Lyme disease? And you're going to go see doctors, and they're going to say, oh, let's do a Lyme panel, and let's do, a mold analysis, and, let's look at your histamine levels, and let's run a FODMAP report on you, and let's check to see what food sensitivities you have. And I've seen women who have come in and spent tens of thousands of dollars on diagnostic tools. And look, just like COVID right now, there's a lot of false positives, and with Lyme disease and women who have breast implants. So I would say before you go spend a ton of money on all of those labs, look into the possibility that you might have at the root here, breast implant illness. And what we've seen is a lot of women who have done a lab test before and were tested false positive on Lyme. It was completely gone after they removed their breast implants. So I recommend that, if you have them, I don't think that any woman should have them, period. Even women that have had mastectomies, there's another way of rebuilding your breast tissues. I talk about that in my book too. I also talk about it in the interview that you will get as a freebie if you buy the book, because we have a lot of really amazing things coming up for you for the book launch. And you'll get the episode where I interviewed my surgeon who has like a 1-year wait list. So, there's a lot of good surgeons out there, and there's a reason why they have long wait lists. But I would get on a good surgeon's wait list by giving them a deposit or whatever you can ASAP. There's places I could recommend to you in other countries that will be able to see you sooner. And I've actually built a protocol around one of them in another country where you probably save about 67%. You'll pay 2/3 less.
Wow.
And you could invest that money in all the other protocols because we have those systems built around the before and after treatments. So yeah, that's what I would say is don't go spending your money on all of that. I also work with another client who came to us and she spent $15,000 on doing hyperbaric oxygen treatments and has barely scratched the surface on the fundamentals of her lifestyle and her mindset. So you guys stop spending so much money on all these fancy things that yes, they're great, but the doctors make money on them, but they're not asking you the questions on how's your mindset, how's your sleep, how's your supplements, what's your relationship like with yourself, what's your relationship like with your family, your support structure, your significant other, what's your relationship to your work, how many hours do you work, These are all very critical key factors that let's get the foundations laid first. Let's get your roots. That's why our program's called Chi of Life. Cleanse, Heal, Ignite, your Chi of Life. We talk about getting your roots strong first. And then only once your roots, your lifestyle management, how you think, how you act, what things that you apply on in and around your body, how you feed yourself, how you feed your mind, your heart, your soul. What's this all for? What's this life for? What's the message hidden in your breast implants and the illness that you've sustained? So in all of that, you will find your soul, your heart, your connection to you again, and you'll learn boundaries around that, and that's what we teach. So before you go spend lots of money on all these things, get the roots down first. You will spend far less working with us and looking at some labs, depending where you are in the process, than going out and doing a lot of fancy labs and protocols and treatments and supplements that may or may not even work because your body might be so toxic with these things that you might not even be able to receive the message from the supplements that you're getting. And this is another thing I'm also working on. A huge message that I have, and I'm working with lots of doctors on this, my message around the world, and this is why I want you to share this episode with doctors that health practitioners, chiropractors, personal trainers, yoga teachers, coaches of all kinds. They need to understand the implications of having breast implants. They need to have please consider adding this to your intake forms, doctors. Having questions of, do you have breast implants? Did you have breast implants? Do you do Botox? Did you do Botox? Do you have any cavitations? Do you have any silver fillings in your mouth? Have you had them? Do you have root canals? These implants, air quotes, are all things that are causing us disease. So, women are also exploring, I have to improve my oral infections and everything too. I'd recommend when you work with us, we talk about those too, because some women get their implants removed and they still have oral infections and cavitations. And that's another $20,000 bill for some of them. But I say, hey, talk to me. I can help you find a good resource for literally a third of the price. So I save women tens of thousands of dollars by not spending money on the things that are maybe the wrong timing, but good labs or good treatments, but just wrong timing. Yeah. Or working with practitioners who can do the same quality of care for a third, a fourth of the price. And when you know those things and you follow that path, then you realize that asking for help was probably one of the best ideas that you could ever have had for yourself. And asking for help is not weak, it's powerful. We need tribe, just like Jess said earlier, more than ever before, because we get to share ideas together and we get to rise together through our suffering. And that what that leads to is our sovereignty, our soul sovereignty. And that's really what the most important thing that I'm here to share with all of you is that I want you to be free. I want you to be free from pain, from the perfectionism prison, from the projection of who you think you're supposed to be, and from really expecting everybody else to tell you who you think that you're supposed to be. This is really no more playing small, no more plastic, no more pushing yourself last and prioritizing yourself after everybody else. It starts with you. You are the lesson you came here to learn. You are the school, the greatest class that you'll ever take. You're your greatest friend, healer, sister, doctor, everything. And when you really get that and slow down enough, you can see that. And once you get that and unlock yourself and your greatest gifts with your self-love key, you never go back. you can't unsee the magic within you. You can't unfeel it. And when you have it, you're unfuckwithable, and you'll never give yourself away again. And when you do, you catch yourself. I do it sometimes. I'm like, oh, wait a second. Hold on.
Well, we're only human, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And that's part of the experience is you go through stuff and you fail, and then you share your experience with others to help build them up also. It's never a wasted effort is what I'll say. Yeah. But like you said, it is sometimes wrong time.
Yeah.
Right journey, wrong time.
Yes, exactly. And so I'd say that, you know, you guys in closing, because I think we're over time now, Jess, but I get on these rants sometimes. I'm like, I think I'm talking to a former part of myself who didn't want to listen 5 years ago when I first had the article on how breast implants cause problems, and it took me years to get the message. So I don't want you guys, don't do what I did, do what I say. Right? Like a critical parent. So what did I miss? Where are we at? I think we're at our last little question here, aren't we?
We are pretty much at the end here. That was my last question, was just, you know, what sort of waste of time and money that you have recommendations for. So, you know, bonus that everybody got your, you know, not just what you feel is wasted your time, but what you've seen other people waste their time and money. Because, you know, luckily you're in a position that you can go through and try things, and it's for the sake of helping other people. But not everybody has unlimited funds or time to be able to do certain things. So I'm glad that we had a chance to kind of go over some of those things before we end this episode today.
Totally. You guys, I think if I would have spent the money, this is all trial and error. Some of it I've spent money on, some of it that I've worked with some of the most well-renowned doctors in the world on my treatment. And they said, we will give you treatment so that you will become the poster child for this experience, and you could be a guinea pig in it. And I'm like, wait. Well, Jess actually has 2 guinea pigs, side note.
I do.
They're so cute. We should put them in the show notes, Jess. I'm always like, I'm having a hard day. Can you send me pictures of your guinea pigs? Because I feel like one right now. It's just so cute. But I would have easily spent $50,000 plus in the last year and a half on 2 years and all the things that I've done. So I did that, and doctors have done that because they care, I care, we all care about really cracking this code. So my takeaways here is obviously, if I don't sound like a broken record, get my book. Get this book. It has all the lessons that I want to impart upon you with love to liberate you from the time, money, and energy loss that I sustained going through the process. And as a practitioner with 6 certifications in health and wellness and yoga and mindfulness, I have a lot to share in functional medicine and holistic health and yoga and breath work. So it's a combination of all those things. And then also consider other implants and address them. Like I said, the implants in your mouth, in your mind, in your breasts, vaginal meshes. That's an episode that's going to come out too as well on the danger of vaginal meshes. I mean, you guys, women have literally been shit on by the medical institution. Like, guinea pig, talk about being guinea pigs. Like, we have been treated as a human wastebasket. It's disgusting. So yeah, and then do the warrior cleanse with us. I'm going to have a book launch coming out here soon. Depending on when you hear this, we're going to have a huge book launch. It's going to go out to millions of people. But that doesn't go without saying that please share this episode, because the people that we have, they're going to be sharing this, the medical doctors, the functional medicine experts, the people who care and who have breast implants themselves in our industry. They didn't know this stuff until we really brought this on the map with the book and the research that I went through and put out on the map too with the Non-Toxic Beauty Summit. So we're going to have millions of people who are going to be exposed to this, but I also encourage you to share everywhere and do the warrior cleanse. That's going to be a program where I teach the fundamentals and the foundations, where I do talk about, toxic beauty in there, how to address the toxic things you put on, in, and around your body, which are all really important. And you're going to get a lot of freebies too with that, including in also my book, like what to ask your doctor, how to pick one that's best for you, symptoms that you might have that you want to bring to your doctor, a checklist. And then also reach out to us after this episode. If you're the kind of person who prefers to have her hand held through the whole journey, that's really tough to explore on your own and seeing contradictory information and literally feeling you have more brain fog and decision fatigue as a result of it, reach out, schedule a call with us. At the end of this episode, you'll hear a little, call to action for that. It's dianekeiser.com/call. You'll talk to Jess. then, if you're a good candidate to work with us, then you'll talk to me next. And that's a really good sign that it's a good chance for us to work together. And also, I have an advanced team to help you through this whole process. So if you're somebody who really wants a good explant surgeon and a whole process and to save a lot of money, reach out to us too. We can put you in touch with them. But as a result of women who go through our program, the ones who have done the work, if they're doctors or coaches, they graduate our program with a certificate of completion. And this is what it looks like. You become a Chi hormone warrior graduate, and you become a Chi holistic health coach, and you can use that to put in your office or in your accomplishments and your credits for continuing education. We're not like associated with any school systems, because most school systems don't really teach this kind of thing. So we just created it ourselves, and because you are the school, and the decisions that you make are the lessons. So don't shame the lesson.
Yeah, and the time that you put in to learn this stuff should be rewarded.
Absolutely, Jess.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Because some women go through the program, they're like, I don't have time. And if you don't make time now for health and prevention, you're going to have to make a lot more time later for disease. And it's going to cost you a lot more. It's just the bottom line. You pay for it now in smaller amounts, or you pay for it later in larger amounts, and then it's a surprise. So don't be reactionary, be proactive, and that's what we teach in the program. So you not only learn how to get through this journey now, but you also become your own doctor for the rest of your life, because we teach you intuition. No one will ever take that away from you. So yeah, that's it. Lots of calls to action, but essentially get the book, join the Warrior Cleanse with us. And if you want to work with us one-on-one, DianeKaiser.com/call. And for those women out there who are considering breast implants, I don't know if I need to say anything else. Re-listen to the episode if you're still thinking about getting them.
Yeah, listen to it multiple times. I'm sure there's a lot to pick out that we just talked about.
Yeah, and send this to your friends I've heard this a lot. I wanted to make this episode for my friends who keep reaching out to me and saying, one of my friends is really considering breast implants. I'm like, okay, they need to listen to my journey and everybody else's journey. So I will have 14 other women's journey that I'll be sharing with you very soon. Their journey from getting implants, what the journey taught them, and explant and beyond. That's coming soon as well. So you realize that you're not alone in this journey, and also that many women have gone through this, and what lessons that they've learned that you can learn rather than going through the whole process on your own. There's other ways that you can get, lifts and things if you do feel like your breasts are sagging, but that's for another episode. And that's something I did talk about that you'll get as a freebie when you buy the book, with the interview that I did with my surgeon, Dr. Strawn in Newport Beach, who was amazing. So, Jess, I think I'm done. We went way over.
It's okay.
I think we covered a lot.
We sure did.
Yeah. I'm sure people probably took notes on this one. Even your guinea pigs over there squealing, like, oh, don't put breast implants in me.
There's a meme.
I know, right? I actually have a dog with breast implants in a picture. So you guys, cleanse your body, heal your hormones, ignite your life. You can only set fire to one thing: to your body in the form of inflammation, to your heart and your soul in the form of a dream. Every day you get to wake up and you have the gift and the freedom of deciding. Let's continue on the journey of preserving and serving our freedom by not allowing them to take it away from us one by one. And this is just one way that you can reclaim your soul and your sovereignty. Thank you again for being here with us today. If you have any further questions on this episode, DianeKaiser.com/ask. We'd be happy to help you. Or you can join our free Facebook group if we're still in Facebook by the time you're listening to this. And you'll see that in all of the links below. Thanks again for being here today, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If this episode really tugged at your soul and you're ready to have your personal breakthrough, we would love to have a heart-to-heart with you to get you crystal clear on 3 things. What do you want? What's standing in your way? And how do we get you to your soul goal in the fastest time possible? Visit my site, DianeKaiser.com/call to schedule your free 1-hour connection session with one of our warriors to map out exactly how you want to look, feel, and live. We've helped thousands of women warriors just like you all around the world free themselves from the symptoms and suffering they never thought possible. And you just might be our next success story. Talk soon.